Hello students, welcome to my channel D Biology. This is the third part of the chapter plant morphology, and in this part we are going to discuss about the leaf. In the first part we have already discussed about the roots, in second we have discussed stems. If you haven't watched those videos and you want to watch, the links will be provided in the description box and you can watch those videos. So guys, if we talk about the leaves, then some important characteristics of the leaves are there, which signifies the presence of the leaves. Just like for roots, I told you about what? Recall for root hair, I told about the root hair. For roots, I told about the root hair. For stem, I told about the nodes and internodes, which will be found specifically in the stems. Coming to the leaves have one specific structure, that is the bud in its axis. So in NCERT, a line is given and students do get confused by it. They get confused by what? They get confused by the concept that are leaves formed from axillary buds or are they having axillary buds? So remember, leaves are formed from the nodes and they have a bud in their axis, hence the bud is called as axillary bud. So today in this video, we'll be discussing about the leaf in detail, like we'll be talking about its types, its structure, then about venation, phyllotaxy, modifications of leaves. Means we have lots of things to study today, but relax. Everything we'll study is very easy. Leaf is an important part for the exams, but it is an easy part also. So now let's start with the structure of the leaf. So students, let's see what are the parts in leaf we are going to study again, so that you will remember that what are the things we are going to study. First we'll start with structure. After structure, the second one we have got is venation. Now these terms may be new for you, but don't worry, I'll make it crystal clear for you and you will remember it actually for the complete time. So second is venation. The third one we have got is types. These are very small topics with one or two examples each. That's all guys. Then after types we have the next one, that is phyllotaxy. One of my favorite topic of leaves, phyllotaxy. And the last one we have, which we have been studying for roots and stems also, modification. And here in leaf, we don't have much to study for the modifications also. Most of them we are very familiar with them. Nothing is new for us over here. Just some terms are new. And after today, you will be clear with those terms also. So make yourself completely relaxed. And now let's start with the first thing, that is structure. So you know how the leaf looks like? Yes, you definitely know how a leaf looks like. So first we are going to talk about the structure. So I'll put the heading structure, and the leaf is born at where? The leaf is born on nodes, and nodes are present on stem. So we'll start drawing the leaf, but we'll first draw the stem, because where leaf is present on the stem. So if we don't have stem, where we'll draw the leaf, right? So we have already discussed, even though, but I'm again repeating the things because some of you may be new for this chapter. You're watching my video for the first time, so that you will know about it. So this is a node, this line, and here on this node, a green colored structure is formed like this. Now leaves have various shapes. Any shape you can draw for leaves, not a standard shape. Okay, so this is a leaf we have got, and I'm just drawing a leaf. I'm trying to make it look a bit good. So this is leaf. Now let me tell you the parts of the leaf, because here we're not talking about the stem. We'll just talk about the parts of the leaf because we are talking about the structure of the leaf. So nothing tough is here. We know this is the leaf, and here the point where the leaf attaches to the stem, this point is known as leaf base. Leaf base. Clear? The point where leaf attaches to the stem on the node is known as leaf base. In the axil of this leaf base, what is present? A bud is present, and that bud is known as what? That bud is known as axillary bud. Axillary bud. Actually, axillary bud is a meristematic tissue, or it is made up of meristematic cells, means which have the dividing capacity, and they can form new structures like branches, new leaves, flowers, fruits, etc. So axillary bud is important for us to know. Here, now, further, what is this structure? Wait, yeah. So this structure, I'll just draw it a bit thicker so that you can easily see this part, this light green color. This is like a connecting element between the main leaf and the stem, right? It is very small. Usually we call it as leaf ki dandi. This leaf ki dandi is actually known as petiole. What it is known as? It is known as petiole, leaf ki dandi. The thin, usually this is having transverse section as circular section. It is known as what? It is known as petiole. It helps the leaf to flow in the wind, because if leaf is completely rigid like this, then if wind comes, then what will happen? Wind will break the leaf. But no, plants don't want their leaves to be broken because of wind. So what they do, this is the petiole, this is the main leaf, the green structure which performs photosynthesis. So these petiole just make the leaf move here and there, and hence they prevent the leaves from breaking through due to the wind. Clear? So petiole is clear. Petiole's function is also clear. That's all we have to study about the petiole. Okay, now the last part and the main part of the leaf, means it's not main from the exam's point of view, but it's the main part of the leaf, guys, which has various functions. So this dark green structure, this is a complete structure which is basically known as lamina. What it is known as? It is known as lamina. This is the structure which is green colored, having chlorophyll, chloroplast present, in which the chlorophyll is there, stomatas are there, guard cells are there which guard the stomatal pores in it. Now, this main line, I'll change the color to show that main line, and I'll choose yellow one. So, sorry, it is orange. So, this one is the main line, and this main line in the leaf is known as midrib. Midrib. And what is this midrib actually? We got to know about the leaf base, its function, axillary bud, what it does, petiole, what it does, lamina, what it does, that is photosynthesis, right? So what is this midrib? So guys, this midrib is the part where xylem and phloem are present. Plants need water during different processes. Enzymes require water. So xylem is present to provide water to the leaves. Then phloem is there for the translocation of food from leaves to other parts, and from other parts to leaves also when plants are not performing photosynthesis. So this is the basic structure of the leaf. Now on this leaf, one more part is present, guys. One more part is present, but it's not necessary to be present. Means it can be present or it can be absent in the leaf, and that is present here on the leaf base itself. These structures are present. These structures are known as stipules. What these structures are known as? They are known as stipules. I know these names are new for you, but you'll be able to learn once you watch this picture carefully. Everything will be crystal clear in your mind. So stipules can be present or absent. Now, if stipules are present, I'm marking present with a plus sign, the leaf will be known as stipulate. Stipulate. And if these stipules are absent, that I'm marking with a negative sign, these leaves will be known as ex-stipulate. X means the past one, which is now absent, right? So here X is stipulate, that's how you can remember this term. That's all you need to remember for the stipules or X stipulate and stipulate term. So we have got the trick to remember what does this term means, X stipulate and stipulate. Where the stipules are present, that is also clear. We don't have examples for this. You don't have to learn any example for stipulates or X stipulates, guys. Just remember the meaning of the terms. Clear? So this is the complete structure of the leaves. But now we have few common characters of some plants. Let's start with the monocots. So first I'll be talking about the monocots. In case of monocots, what happens, guys? In case of monocots, this leaf base becomes expanded to form a covering around the stem. This covering can be continuous or discontinuous. So it is present in case of monocots. What is forming the covering over the stem? Leaf base is becoming expanded to form the covering. So this is one important point from your NCERT. Direct line is given. Then we have another point, that is sometimes in some specific plants, what happens, let me show you. This is the stem. Okay, this is stem, and here the leaf is attached, right? This is leaf attached. Now sometimes what happens, this at the leaf base, here the leaf base becomes a bit swollen. Leaf base becomes bit swollen, and this leaf base is now known as pulvinous. Pulvinous. The leaf base becomes swollen and it is known as pulvinous, and it is specifically found in the plants like legumes. Now legumes, what are these legumes, guys? I'll give you simple examples. All the dals which we eat like arhar, moong, rajma, etc., even the groundnuts, they all pea plants. These all are the leguminous plants, and they have these swollen leaf base. So this is a characteristic feature of the legume plants. The term is pulvinous. It is one important point which is given in your NCERT also. So here we are done with the basic structure plus some important specific structures found in the leaf, guys. Now the next we have got is the second character of the leaves, that is the venation. So let's see the second character of the leaves, or second part of the study of the leaves, that is venation. This venation is a new term, but it is nothing tough. It is very easy. We saw the midrib, right? We have what? We have veins, right? Arteries and veins are present. Forget the arteries. Remember veins. Veins are here in us for conduction of blood, right? In the same way, in leaves of the plants, veins are present for conduction of food and water. That is, in veins, what will be present? Xylem and phloem. So remember, in leaf, what is present? Veins are present. So let me tell you what is venation. Venation is the pattern of arrangement of veins and venlets. Let me show you what these veins and venlets are. Then we'll discuss in detail about the venation. Detail means we don't have much to study. Okay, so don't get scared with the word detail. So this is one leaf. Okay. Now, this main part which I told you was the midrib, and it has further branches like this. If you see the leaves, you can easily see these structures. So this main part is the midrib or veins, and its branches are known as venlets. So veins and venlets are there in the leaf. The branches of the veins are known as venlets. Clear? So this is midrib. These are the veins, and further branches are there like this. Then the venlets are formed like this. Clear? So simple definition of venation is what? Arrangement or patterns of arrangement of veins, venlets, midrib in the leaf. Now, coming to the types of venation or types of leaves on the basis of venation, we have got two types. One is reticulate reticulate. Another one is parallel. Now, I'll tell you what these terms means and how you can recall their meanings. Parallel, we all know what does the parallel means when the lines are on equal distance completely. So first I'll draw the leaf for the parallel ones, then I'll come to the reticulate ones, because we should discuss the easier ones first and then we should focus on the bit new terms for us. So coming to the parallel one, these parallel leaves or parallel venation is usually found in the monocot leaves, which are a bit narrow leaves like this. Now in these leaves what happens? The veins are parallel like this. The veins are parallel. They do not intersect each other like this, they are present. Example includes monocots. Monocots are the examples for parallel venation. That's all you need to remember. Coming to the reticulate venation, guys. Reticulate venation. Now, rat. Okay, this is spelling is R-E-T, but let me tell you with R-A-T, rat. If a rat comes into our home or into our house, what we use? We use the net or no, wait. You have heard the story of a rat and a lion, where the lion was first disturbed by the rat and he didn't kill him, and then the lion was captured by the hunters in a net, and the rat came and he cut down the complete net, and then the lion was released and all. So with that story, we are going to remember this reticulate and all. Okay, so here in the reticulate, we remember the word rat. Now, rat cut what? Rat cuts the net. Okay, rat cuts the net. All we need to remember is that story. Now, whenever the net is formed by the arrangement of veins and veinlets, we call it as reticulate venation. Once you complete watching this video, go into your surroundings where the plants are there. Take out a leaf. If it is a dicot leaf, it will have such kind of arrangement of the veins and veinlets. I'll show you. This is the main one. Now, these are the branches, and further the branching will be done like this, where the gnat will be formed. You can easily see these nets. The main line is more darker, more prominent. The further branches becomes less prominent, but it is quite visible. If you see these people leaves, the leaves of people tree, the net formation is very, very clear in the leaves and you can easily find out. So reticulate have net formation. Remember with the story of rat, lion and hunters and net. Then example includes the members dicots. Dicots will have the reticulate venation. Clear? But now we have got some exceptions in this case which you need to remember. The exception is that even though we say that the dicots mostly have the reticulate venation, there are a few dicots which do not have reticulate venation. They have got the parallel venation. So I'm going to highlight the exceptions here, and the parallel venation includes a dicot, that is Calophyllum. Just remember the example, Calophyllum. Then coming to the exception of parallel venation, there are some monocots which do not have parallel venation. They have got the reticulate venation. So exceptions of monocots with reticulate venation are Smilex. Another one is Dioscorea. Okay, so these are the exceptions which you need to remember for the venation. Here we are done with the venation, guys. Is anything difficult? No, just 3 examples. Of course, you need to remember. That's all you have got for the venation. Venation is also completed. Means we have completed 2 parts on the leaf topic. Now we have got the 3rd part, that is types of leaves. Types of leaf. This is again a simple topic which we can easily see in our surroundings and refer them, understand them. Clear? So coming to the types of leaf, basically two types of leaves are there. How many types of leaves are there? Two types. One is simple. Their names are also very simple. And another one is compound. See how simple the names of the types are there. Right? So one is simple leaves and another one is compound leaves. Now, how do we classify the leaves? Right? So, let me tell you, I'll draw over here. This is one leaf, right? And I told you that this main line is what? This main line is the midrib, right? Now, the leaves, they are not always of this plain structure. They don't have this plain surface always. We know they sometimes are of this shape also, like this, right? Of these shape also the leaves are there. So different shapes of the leaves are there, but these incisions means these cuts should not reach to the midrib. These partitions should not reach to the midribs. If these leaves do not have their partitions reaching to the midribs, these leaves are known as simple leaves. I'll repeat again. If the partitions in the leaves, the designs of the leaves are not reaching to the midrib, the type of leaf will be the simple leaf. Like these, any of these leaves which I'll be drawing here, they all are the simple leaves. Okay, this one is also a simple leaf, and then again we have got the one another, means it has come very close to the midrib, but it hasn't touched the midrib. It means it is a simple leaf, guys. So different structures of leaf are there, but the leaves should not touch, means the borders, the corners of the leaf should not touch to the midrib. These all leaves are the simple leaves. That's all in the simple leaves. No examples, nothing, guys. Wow. Okay, now coming to the compound leaves. Now, if simple leaves were not having the part reaching to the midrib, now in compound leaves, what will happen? The leaves boundaries will reach to the midrib. Now, what happens? Just imagine that this part of the leaf, the third part I'm drawing on here, it touches the midrib like this. So what happens? The branch, these partitions of the leaves will occur, and the best example, the best of best examples which we have all seen over here is neem. So guys, this neem is actually having compound leaves. Now, these are the neem leaves, right? Like this. But can you believe these are actually not the leaves, guys? Now, how do we get to know that these are not leaves? And if these structures are not the leaves, then what these structures are? We have to know about these things, right? If you have these neem trees in close to your areas, you can just refer to them. Now, what happens over here? Let me tell you. Now, this is the midrib. And in case of compound leaves, the midrib is now known as another term that is known as rachis. But it is known as rachis. The midrib, in case of compound leaves, is known as rachis. Now, what happens over here, guys? The boundaries makes the cuts to the midrib, forming the leaflets. So these small structures are not the leaves. These are basically the leaflets. Now, you will be thinking, how can we differentiate? We call them as leaves, but why these are known as leaflets? So remember, I told you that in case of leaves, what will be present on the axil? Yes, the axillary bud will be present on the axil. So we get to see axillary bud over here, but not on this part, not on this rachis anywhere. So remember, this is actually a complete leaf like this, which was placed into partitions forming the leaflet. Clear? So one example is neem. of compound leaves. Now, two types of compound leaves are there. How many types of compound leaves are there? Two types are there. Again, simple terms are there. Pinnately compound. Pinnately compound. And another one is palmately compound. Palmately compound leaves. Now, we have already discussed, you will be surprised to know that we have discussed pinnately compound leaves along with the example, guys. Yes, neem is the example of pinnately compound leaves. In pinnately compound leaves, the leaflets will be present on the rachis separately. Okay, on the rachis, these leaflets will be present separately. Coming to the palmately compound leaves, what happens here? The leaflets are present on the same point like this. As you can see, our palm. This is the joining point of our all the 5 fingers. So these 5 fingers are what? These 5 fingers of our palm are the leaflets. They are present on the main part. They are present on the main, we can say the petiole. Here the rachis is not there. Okay. So this type of arrangement of leaflets directly on a single point is known as palmately compound leaf, and we have got 2 examples now. 2 examples, both are actually the fibers which we use for our clothing also. So you can remember palmately compound leaves in our palm are the cloth fibers, that is silk and cotton. Silk and cotton. So that's easy it is, guys. It's so easy to remember, so easy to learn, right? Some of you might have learned it here itself. You won't have to open again even. Okay, just open for revision, as revision is important. So here we are done with the third part, which we are going to study in this topic, leaf. That is types. We saw 2 types, simple and compound. Then we saw the 2 types of compound leaves, that is pinnately compound leaves and palmately compound leaves. The next we have got is phyllotaxy. That is number 4. And I told you this is my favorite one. Okay. So guys, if you look into your surroundings, again, because we're talking about plants, leaves, and leaves are very common in our surroundings. So many plants are there. So if you look into your surroundings, you'll be wondered to see different arrangement of leaves. Arrangement of leaves where? We know leaves are arranged on stems or branches. So arrangement of leaves are different in different plants. These patterns of arrangements are known as what? These patterns of arrangements are known as phyllotaxy. So this term is clear, means what we are going to study over here, we are going to study here about the patterns of arrangement of leaves on the stems or branches. Clear? So on this basis of patterns, we have 3 types of phyllotaxy. The first one is opposite. Then the second one we'll get to see is, I'll write it over here. The second one we'll get to see is alternate. Alternate. And the third one, I'll write it over here. Third one we'll get to see is whorled. These are the 3 types of phyllotaxy we will get to study for the leaves. Very simple, very easy, just like the topics we have discussed till now. Coming to the first one, opposite phyllotaxy. What happens? This is one stem. On this stem, what should be present? Of course, nodes will be present. So these are the nodes I'm drawing. Clear? Now on these nodes, at each node, 2 leaves will be formed. 2 leaves at each node are formed. Such type of arrangement of leaves is known as opposite phyllotaxy. What it is known as? Opposite phyllotaxy. When 2 leaves are present on the single node. Clear? Now on the next node also, the 2 leaves will be present like this. The two leaves will be present like this. Clear? So on every node, the two leaves will be present. Further, this opposite phyllotaxy is also of two types. Don't get scared with the types. You just have to remember two words over here, total. Right? So opposite phyllotaxy is further classified into two types. One is decussate and another one is superposed. So guys, the superposed term itself will tell what it means or what the arrangement of leaves is. We just have to remember about the decussate arrangement. So let's first discuss about the decussate. Just a minute. Decussate has double S actually. So decussate, what happens in the case of decussate? Yes. So this is my stem and each this line is one node. Okay. Now here a pair of leaf is present. Okay, this pen is a pair of leaf present in this form. I'll be joining it with this another finger so that I can manage with single hand. Okay, now the next pair of leaf on the second node will be present at 90 degree. As you can see, the next pair is present at 90 degree to the first pair. Such type of arrangement is known as decussate opposite phyllotaxy. Now, the further one will be again present at the 90 degree to the one just above it. So, the leaf pairs are basically present at 90 degrees with the one present just above or just below. Clear? So such type of arrangement is known as decussate and the example is Calotropis. What is the example? Calotropis. Calotropis. What is Calotropis, guys? It is very common for us. We usually see in our surroundings, they grow in the wild. It is known as, we can say, dangerous plants. Even the cows and all also don't feed upon it. Milkweed plants. Actually, when we cut the stem or any part of it, white milky colored substance comes out of it. We use its stem for our labs also. So this Calotropis is the example of decussate phyllotaxy. Then we have got superposed phyllotaxy. Superposed means one above the other. If on the first node the leaf is present like this, then on the second node also the leaf will be present just way. I'll put this pen over here on the second node and this pen over here. So you can see the leaves are present parallel, means just above them, each other, just above each other. So this type of arrangement is known as superposed phyllotaxy and it is found in guava. Guava we all love to eat. It is a very tasty fruit. Amrud we call in Hindi. So two examples we have got till now. Okay. Many of you must be knowing about Calotropis, so you won't have to learn. Those who know about Calotropis, they don't have to learn this term. They will remember, right? Coming to the next type, that is alternate. So again, we get to draw a stem. On this stem, what will be present? Nodes and internodes. Now, I don't think I even have to speak about nodes and internodes, right? Because from the first lecture itself, we have been discussing about nodes and internodes. So guys, these are the nodes and internodes. On these nodes and internodes, sorry, on these nodes, leaves are born, right? But at one node, only one leaf is formed. Only one leaf at one node is formed. That too in the alternate manner like this. Means they like to keep distance with each other. Clear? So leaves, when one leaf at each node is present, that too in the alternate manner, we call the phyllotaxy as alternate phyllotaxy, guys. Clear? If you remember these arrangements of the pictures, you can easily recall the arrangements of leaves during the exam. Clear? Then coming to the examples, 3 examples are there and all of them are very common to you. First one is China rose. China rose. Second example is mustard. And the third example is sunflower. If you learn, means if you read these examples continuously, regularly, they will be on your fingertips. If someone wakes up you in the night, midnight, and asks you what are the examples of alternate phyllotaxy, you'll be able to name them, right? China rose, mustard, and sunflower. Out of these, all these three have beautiful flowers. Mustard and sunflower has yellow flowers, and China rose has somewhat reddish flower. And the last type of phyllotaxy we have got is world phyllotaxy. Again, what we have to draw? Yes, again we have to draw a stem. Yes, this is a stem. Now, here on each node, more than 2 leaves will be present. If more than 2 leaves will be present at each node, the type of phyllotaxy will be the world phyllotaxy. Now, what happens over here? The leaves forms a world-shaped structure because so many leaves are there. So, they form a world structure like this. Clear? On the next node, also world of leaves will be there like this. So, you may get confused with the one we saw in the venation, means that types of leaves, sorry, not venation, types of leaves, that is palmately compound leaves. So there the leaflets were present forming a whorl. Here the leaves are present. At the axis of each leaf, the bud is present in case of whorled leaves. These birds, red colored birds are present on their axis. So here the leaves are present, their leaflets are present. Don't get confused between the two. They have their own examples, they have their own way of arrangement, they have their own parts which are arranged. Coming to the example, we have got 2 examples. One is Elstonia, and another one is Miriam. Okay, so these are the examples. That's all you need to study about the phyllotaxy. And guys, we are done with the phyllotaxy also. See how fast we are completing this topic, leaf. Now we are just left with the last part of the leaf, that is modifications, and that is also hardly 5 minutes topic, guys. So let's start the last part for the leaf, that is modification. Here modification of leaves will be comparing it with the leaf for the modification of stem also. Modification, actually it's not P, it's F. Modifications. So leaves are actually modified for 4 functions. The 4 main functions were what the leaves are modified. First one is food storage. Food storage. Now, if you remember, for stem modification, we discussed about a stem, underground stem modifier, which was modified, but the stem got reduced and it stored food in the leaves. Now, you all have, who have watched my videos already, for the stem, you definitely remember that part. I even showed the example also. So, what happens in case of onion and garlic or such plants, the stem becomes reduced. So this is the stem which I'm going to draw. This is stem. The stem will have roots on it. Stem is a disc-shaped structure. If you see onion, you'll be able to realize it. Now, on this stem, we eat the leaves. The part of the onion which we eat, this part, the pink color which I'm drawing, this part we basically eat. And this pink colored part is actually the leaf. It is leaf which has become fleshy and stores the food. Fleshy leaves which store the food in onion and garlic. So for food storage, we have got the 2 examples, that is onion and garlic. Onion and garlic. This is nothing new for you. You all eat these things, so you can easily remember what parts are this. Just like for the garlic also, guys, garlic also has the same thing. This is the disc, this is the stem, then it has roots, and then the main garlic which we eat, these structures which are present in a curled form like this. We peel off the main thin layer and then we eat it. That complete part is actually the leaves of the garlic. Clear? So here we are done with the first modification. See, out of 4 we have completed 1. Next is number 2. Number 2 is tendrils. It is leaf tendril. In STEM, we studied about the stem tendrils. So let's study the tendrils or these modifications with comparison with the stems. So that we'll have revision, we'll have the comparisons, so that we don't get confused. We won't get confused between the two parts. Okay. So leaf tendrils are actually formed from the leaves. So here I'm going to draw both the structures. Okay. This is one stem with one leaf on it. And this is another stem with leaf on it. Okay. Now don't think that because I'm drawing different leaves means they are different. No. Actually, the structure of leaf doesn't matter over here. What matters to us is, in case of leaf tendrils, the leaf get modified to form tendrils like these spiral structures. The leaf gets modified to form tendrils in case of leaf tendrils, whereas in case of stem tendrils will have the tendrils formed from the axillary bud. This axillary bud present on the axis will get modified to form the tendrils like this, and hence it is known as stem tendril. So guys, can you see that these two structures are forming the same thing? Tendrils are formed. Means what? They have same function. What they have same function, but their origin is different. Stem tendril is originating from the axillary bud, leaf tendril is originating from leaf. So we can call these structures as analogous structures. What these structures are? These are analogous structures. Analogous means those who have same functions but different origins. These are known as analogous structures. So the structures of leaf tendrils and stem tendrils, they have same functions, different origins, so they are known as analogous structures. Now, I'll remove just part first, that is food storage, because I want to make more comparisons over here. So I'll be rubbing this complete part. For that, I'll require a few seconds also. And now we have got the third type of modification, guys. So number 3 modification with us is spines formation. Number 3 is spines. In stems, we talked about the thorns. Here we will talk about the spines. So guys, basically what happens over here, the leaf or the lamina becomes reduced, it becomes spine shaped, and the petiole becomes photosynthetic. So this is a leaf, right? Now this leaf will become spine shaped, it will form the spine, and this petiole forms the green photosynthetic structure. Clear? So this type of arrangement is known as phyllodes, where the petiole, what is getting modified? Petiole is getting modified. This is one important point, guys. Petiole is getting modified for photosynthesis. It is known as phyllodes. Whereas in case of stems, we studied about phylloclade and cladoid. Clear? So this was the first thing you need to remember, that petiole gets modified to work as phyllodes. Now, talking about the spines, these spines are also modified of leaves. Hence, the spines are actually analogous. What happens over here? This is, for example, let's say aloe vera. This is what? This is aloe vera. We all use aloe veras definitely. These are the aloe vera leaves. The one which we use for our skin or cosmetics or for medicines is the aloe vera leaves, but these are actually not the leaves. The leaves are the small pricky spines which we have, which are present on the corners. These are actually the spines. Clear? These spines are the modified leaves. So guys, the modified leaves are forming the tendrils also, and the modified leaves are forming the spines also. But they are performing different functions. So this time they have same origin, different function, hence known as homologous. Homologous are those parts which have same origin and different functions. Similarly, if you recall about the thorns which were formed from the axillary bud in the stems, the thorns of the stem are homologous to stem tendrils. Homologous to stem tendrils. Clear? Another example, we have cactus also. So here we are done with the 3 modifications. We are left with the last modification, that is number 4. And the plants are actually known as plants with this type of modification of leaves are known as insectivorous plants. Insectivorous plants. Now, usually plants grow in well fertilized soil. Crops do get fertilizers. But what about the plants which grow in nutrient deficient soil? The nutrient, especially we will focus on nitrogen. The plants which grow on nitrogen deficient soil. This forms one important point also. Nitrogen deficient soil. Clear? These plants, because they are growing in nitrogen deficient soil, means they will require nitrogen definitely. Without nitrogen, no protein formation. No protein formation, no body building, means no formation of the body. No body formation means no growth, nothing is there. So nitrogen is very, very important for the plants. That's why complete nitrogen fixation we'll study in plant physiology. So nitrogen deficient soil will have these plants. These plants who are present in the soil will satisfy their nitrogen needs by attacking on the insects. Now, it's not like the plants are attacking the insects, like they are moving from one place to another. No. What happens? This is one leaf. Okay. Now, in normal conditions, this leaf is a normal structure, but this leaf gets modified into different structures like this. Like this is one of the plant where the leaves get modified into the specific structure, and what it does actually, when insect comes for the nectar and enters into the leaf thinking that it will get the nectar, this flap over the entrance will just get closed, and once the complete structure gets closed, this insect remains within the leaf and it gets digested and the plant gets nitrogen from this insect. So this is one example of insectivorous plant which we call as pitcher plant. So one we have an example is pitcher plant. And another one we have is Venus flytrap. Venus flytrap. One more name you have studied in your junior classes, that is Dioscorea. So many insectivorous plants are there, guys. So here nothing is going on. Leaves get modified into different structures to trap the insects. And then they will digest the insects. They will get the nutrition. Because when we need, we don't see what is right and what is wrong. We just do the work. Rest is all upon the God. So the leaves have to do this thing to get the nutrition. And guys, congratulations. Here we are done with the topic that is leaf. So till now we have completed 3 major parts of the plant, that is roots, stems and leaves. In the next video, we'll talk about the next part, that is the flower. So if you like the video, please hit the like button, subscribe my channel, hit the bell icon so that you can get the notifications for my new videos, and do comment your views down and please share it with your friends.